Yep.
I call Matt Ducey.
Bit confused. I'm standing to speak to not support the Local Government Act 2002 Greater Local Democracy Amendment Bill first reading. A bill, Mr Speaker, that I will not be supporting. And I refute the claims from across the floor, Mr Speaker, that National MPs don't like local government. I must say, my local government that I work with in Waimakariri, I love them. I embrace them and I work with them, and they're leaders in New Zealand. And what they're doing at the moment, Mr Speaker, is playing a key role in leading in the recovery. And I think we've got to remind ourselves it's not the Christchurch earthquakes, but the Canterbury earthquakes, Mr Speaker. And the town of Kaiapoi was hardest hit in the September 2010 earthquakes. And I enjoy working with that council and working with the community boards to support them around the recovery and the anchor projects. We recently opened the Kaiapoi Ruataniwha Civic Centre, but it's also about working together, central government, local government and the communities around legislation. I think we've got real lessons that can be rolled out around the rest of the country, around housing supply, around how we freed up land, which increased supply, which equals demand. Average annual house price inflation about 7.5%, try 5.5% in Canterbury and 3.5% in Waimak. And we're the third fastest growing by population electorate and the third biggest district, just taken over from Invercargill. So I embrace local government. They've got a fantastic role to play. But, Mr Speaker, I can't accept this bill. And why I say that, Mr Speaker, is currently the Local Government Commission, when they issue a final proposal to reorganise councils in a region, there is an ability that if 10% of electors who are affected, they can trigger a poll. So there's already a mechanism in place. And I can say for my own region of Canterbury, Mr Speaker, there is absolutely no appetite for an amalgamation or a super city. So I know if this was ever raised in the towns of Rangiora, of Oxford and Kaiapoi, there'd be 100% of people against it. So we'd quite easily trigger that 10% in that poll. But I must say, Mr Speaker, there is a role for councils working together. And what I mean by that, Mr Speaker, as we rebuild and as Canterbury and Christchurch redraws itself, if we look at an issue like transport, we need to ensure that councils like Waimak, Selwyn and Christchurch City Council are working together. We know we've got $900 million worth of roading investment into the roads of national significance, $300 million of that in my area of North Canterbury alone, Mr Speaker. We have about 60% of working age adults commuting into Christchurch City. So it was really disappointing to hear Christchurch City Council vote down the Cranford Street extension, which will add increased reliability to commuters coming in the Northern Corridor and the Northern Motorway. So we must realise, Mr Speaker, that although we mightn't want amalgamation, we need to work in a system. We're all connected, and decisions made in one part of the system influence other parts. So I would urge councils to work together to support their communities. And really, Mr Speaker, being a centre-right government, it's not all about small state, Mr Speaker, it's about big communities. And what this government does very well is listen to those communities. We care for those communities. And in the end of the day, Mr Speaker, we're there for those communities. So I do not support this bill. Thank you.